So, Olecchino is probably the most hyped and anticipated Fontaine character if we exclude Farina, and I want to talk about what I think her kit should be like. Now, of course, we don't know if she's going to be playable or not, but considering that Hoyo made sure to give her a very clearly visible Pyro Vision in the Archon quest, it makes sense to assume that she will be. Granted, she could still not be released during Fontaine even if she is playable, but I think she will be in Fontaine. Also, quick disclaimer, I do not look at leaks and we do not discuss leaks on this channel at all. So if there are anything leaks related regarding this character at all, no matter how minor, please do not talk about them in the comments. Now, assuming Olecchino will be playable, what do we know about her so far? We know she has a Pyro Vision. We know she's the fourth strongest Harbinger, assuming that the ranks are based on strength, which everything said in the game about the ranks suggests that they are. And with her being such a high-ranking Harbinger, as well as both Child and Wanderer being main DPS, it makes sense to assume that Arlecchino will be as well. And she is also a very popular character, so I'm sure a lot of people want to use her on field. But, well, here's the problem with her being a DPS. Every single 5-star Pyro unit has been a main DPS, unless you count Dia as a support, but I'm not counting that shit. So I think it would be pretty boring if we got yet another. And she would also be competing with the likes of Linny, Gaming, Kutao, and Diluc, so she would need to be pretty unique to actually stand out from the rest. But these existing 5-star characters all have something in common that makes it very possible to stand out from them. They are all pretty single target focused. Hutao has very little AoE, Diluc and Gaming use Zhang Yun, and she only buffs one target, and Lenny's charged attacks have almost no AoE. So, if Alechina will be a DPS, I would hope that she's an AoE DPS. Now, personally, I would prefer her to be a support or a sub DPS, something like either a 5-star Zhongling or even a 5-star Bennett, but we probably shouldn't expect anything like that before Natlan. So, I'll go with her being an AoE Pyro DPS. With that in mind, here's a kit that I've come up with her. I want to reiterate that this is pure 100% fanfiction. It is not related to any leaks whatsoever, so please do not comment about any leaks in the comments. Alright, so I have Alechino as a 5-star Pyro Catalyst user. She'll be an attack scaling unit, so I gave her a high base attack of 351. And I also gave her a Pyro Damage Ascension stat. For her normal attack talent, she'll perform a swiping and slashing attacks with her claws. If you remember, Alechino apparently doesn't actually wear gloves. Her hands actually are just black. Those are claws on her hands. So I think it would be really cool if she fought with those claws. So I made her a catalyst user so she can fight with them, like how Hazo and Risley use a catalyst to fight with their fists. Now, this normal attack talent isn't going to be important, as she will gain a new enhanced set of attacks in her burst, so let's just move on to her skill. Elemental skill, Blood Flame Talons. Alechino swipes the area in front of her with her claws, dealing AoE pyro damage. Enemies hit by Blood Flame Talons have 2 stacks of Blood Flame applied to them. Once an enemy has 3 Blood Flame stacks applied, the Blood Flame will explode, clearing all stacks and dealing AoE pyro damage. The damage dealt is based on a percentage of Alechino's max attack, as well as the enemy's max HP. Each enemy can take the Blood Flame explosion damage no more than twice per second. Talent scaling at level 10, 150% attack for the Blood Flame Talons. Makes 2 particles with a particle ICD of 3 seconds. Applies 2U Pyro and has a 6-second cooldown. For the Blood Flame explosion damage, 200% of Alechino's max attack plus 3% of the enemy's max HP. Alright, so if any of you have ever played Elden Ring, Blood Flame Talents is an ability in that game that I instantly thought of it when I saw Alechino has claws and is pyro. The idea here was to try and make a Genshin version of blood loss damage from Elden Ring. The problem with that is, percentile based damage is pretty hard to balance, so instead of having the Blood Flame explosion damage here be primarily based on a percentile of the enemy's max HP, I made it do some enemy max HP damage plus 200% of her attack. So let's say with full team buffs and everything, Alechino is at like 3500 attack. is facing two enemies with 800,000 HP, like for example those annoying machine things on the current floor 12 chamber 1. The base damage of the Blood Flame explosion would be about 31,000. That might not sound like much. That's before your multipliers like damage bonus, crit damage, etc. So if you have like 200 crit damage, 150% pyro damage bonus, plus like 40% pyro resistance shred and 70% crit rate, that should average out to about 97,000 each time. That still might not sound like much, but I specified that each enemy can take the Blood Flame explosion damage up to 2 times per second. So let's say you apply 6 stacks of Blood Flame to 2 enemies at the same time. The Blood Flame explosion is AoE, so both enemies would get hit by the explosion hit on each of them, making them both take about 195,000 damage instead. That still might not quite sound like a lot, but considering the skill here has a 6-second cooldown and applies 2 stacks when you need 6, but don't worry, the rest of the kit makes this happen frequently, so let's go ahead and move on to her burst. Elemental Burst, Blood Flame Ritual. Rains down blood flame from the sky, dealing numerous instances of AoE pyro damage and applying 1 stack of Blood Flame for each hit. ARLECCHINO then enters the Blood Flame dance state, in which her charged attacks become disabled and she gains a new set of normal attacks, in which she extends the range of her claws, enchanting them with Blood Flame. Her pyro damage bonus is also buffed during this state. Furthermore, while ARLECCHINO is in the Blood Flame dance state, every second time she hits an enemy with a normal attack, apply 1 stack of Blood Flame. Talent scaling for the burst cast Blood Flame rain damage, 85% 6 times, standard ICD, 1U pyro, and the pyro damage bonus buff is 50%. For the Blood Flame Dance normal attacks, standard ICD, 1U pyro, scaling in 1 hits twice with 77.37% scaling, in 2, 81.5% twice, in 3, 103.41 twice, in 4, 25 4 times, and in 5, 129 2 times. Burst duration 18 seconds, burst cost 80, burst cooldown 20. Alright, with this, when she casts her burst, ARLECCHINO will get in 6 hits from the cast burst damage, with each applying 1 stack of Blood Flame, thus resulting in a Blood Flame explosion upon casting her burst. This would allow her to do some decent damage upon casting her burst, which is something that most burst DPS lack. They usually have to spend like 2 seconds casting their burst, but not doing any damage from casting it. And then, with the normal attack chain, I gave her a ton of multi-hits, with every second hit applying a Blood Flame stack. The idea here is that you would want to commit to a full N5 string, as that would result in 12 total hits and 1 instance of Blood Flame explosion damage. I gave the burst an 80 energy cost, which might sound steep, but I think that would be fine with the type of teams you could use her in. You would need to build some ER, but that's fine. I think she would still be doing a lot of damage regardless. Now here's her passive talents. A1, when ARLECCHINO is in the Blood Flame dance state from her burst, after finishing a full N5 combo, she gains the following effect. Blood Flame talents can be cast 3 consecutive times in a row before going on cooldown. A4, the crit rate and crit damage of Blood Flame explosion are increased by 20% and 40%. So her A4 is just a simple crit value increase to help her Blood Flame explosions do good damage. But her A1 is what really spices things up. As we mentioned, completing a full N5 combo would make her hit 12 times and get 1 Blood Flame explosion. Then, with her A1, after finishing that N5 combo, she would be able to cast her skill 3 times in a row, which would be just enough to get another Blood Flame explosion. So with this, the intended gameplay loop would look like cast ARLECCHINO's Elemental Burst, perform a full N5 combo, then cast her skill 3 times in a row. Repeat this combo of N5 and 3 skills until her burst ends. Let's say you can do that 3 times in her field time. That's 1 Blood Flame explosion from casting her burst, 3 from her N5s, and 3 from her skills, so 7 in total. In AoE, that would be 14. That could be pretty darn high amount of damage, even before factoring in the damage from her normal attacks and casting the skill and burst itself. Also, this is why I gave her skill a particle ICD, otherwise she would be making an insane amount of particles. Now, something you will notice with this kit is ARLECCHINO would be applying a ton of pyro. She's got a ton of hits on her normal attacks and her burst, plus the burst itself hitting 6 times, meaning it would apply pyro twice. And also her skill applying 2U pyro, and you would be casting it 3 times in a row with no normal attacks between. Yeah, that's a crap ton of pyro. I did this to make it pretty hard to build her around Reverse Vaporize, because I think it would be pretty boring if she was just yet another Vape DPS. With a kit like this, I think you would play her with Cheverus, something like ARLECCHINO, Cheverus, Toma Official. I imagine she wouldn't actually mind not having Bennett, since like 60% of her damage would be coming from the Blood Flame Explosion, which doesn't actually care that much for Bennett's attack buff, since a lot of its damage is based on the enemy's max HP, and not her own attack. Or maybe instead something like ARLECCHINO, Zhongli, or Toma, Bennett, Farina, with Farina forward vaporizing, and Toma or Zhongli being used so that you can perform her full combo strings without getting interrupted. This kit does really want her to commit to a full N5 string, so getting interrupted would really suck and the shield would be pretty important. But yeah, that's my idea for ARLECCHINO. What do you think? Would this be a really cool kit? Do you think it would be overpowered, underpowered, just right? Let me know what you think in the comments, and also let me know if you would like to see videos like this for more upcoming characters. And I might do it for more characters like Chlorine, Seagreen, as well as any other exciting future characters in the future. Thanks. Bye.